Welcome back to the series of 3 habits of highly successful Muslims. The clear objective and intent of these short videos is to review a great character in Islam, someone forgotten, yet their great contribution on Muslims and even on the world sometimes is radiant even today in our time. We will analyze their circumstances, the situation, what made them great, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they achieved their goals and dreams. We will see how that character applied those 3 principles or habits of highly successful Muslims: learn, plan, and execute, and how by applying them they've reached their goals and dreams. Before I get started, if you have not watched the introduction to 3 habits of highly successful Muslims, I would recommend you watch it first. It's only 12 minutes. The link is on the bottom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَقْصُصَ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So relate the story, perchance they may reflect. Therefore, in the sessions and the videos we're going to be meeting to talk about, we will comply and consider those lessons and as guidance. May Allah reward us. Our character today, his name is ارسلان. Every time I tell his story, it touches my heart, and I hope it will reach your heart as well. He's called heroic lion or the courageous lion or al-Asad al-Tha'ir in Arabic. He's a truly forgotten hero of Islam. His real name is Muhammad ibn Dawood. He was born in 1029 and died in 1072 in December. Also, it is said that he died in 1073 in January, so it's around December and January. He inherited the Seljuk territories of Khorasan in western Iran and went on to conquer Georgia, Armenia, and much of Asia Minor from the Byzantines. Well, let's get a little bit of a background on what's going on about Alp Arslan. He was the nephew of Toghul Bek. Toghul Bek was actually founder of the Seljuk Empire. At the age of 35, he inherited the Seljuk territories, and from there he took on to expand the region and the territories. It's ironic that he only died at the age of 43 and only ruled for 7 years, yet he changed the course of history forever. His victory over the Byzantine at the Battle of Manzikert, or Malazkert, as it's known in Arabic, Malazkert, in 1071, ushered really the end of Byzantine rule or the Eastern Roman, and also started the Turkish settlement in Anatolia, and there to be after that the Ottoman Empire for the next 900, well, the next 700 years, but altogether from the Seljuk time would be about 900 years. For all Muslims out there, Malazkert, if you hear this name for the first time, I need you to think of it as no less than Al-Qadisiyah or Al-Yarmouk, Hattin, and even in some cases, it's similar to Badr. If you don't know it, please stay, listen to this story, as I think you really think at the end that it will touch you and it will touch your heart about Alp Arslan. Well, let's get a little bit closer to see what was going on. It all started when the Emperor Constantine died in 1067, leaving his administration and management to his wife Eudocia, who married Remenos, who was a general in the army, very famous, glorified, and then he became the Emperor of Byzantine and Rome. Meanwhile, in Egypt, the Fatimid or Al-Fatimiyin or Al-Ubaydiyin, Al-Ismailiyin, they were the rulers of Egypt and Hijaz, pretty much north of Africa, with the exception of Morocco, part of Morocco. They were considered to be a branch of faction of Islam that went astray, cursing the Sahaba, on the member, and also introducing made-up practice in Islam such as MMA and tuqi and so on. Um, they strayed and the guidance and light of the Rasulullah Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, peace be upon him. Sultan Arslan, he's faithful to Khalifa of Abbasiyin. Abbasid regarded the Fatimid of Egypt as his enemy, an enemy of Islam. He had no desire to engage the neighboring Byzantines. There's unnecessary hostilities as such. He signs a treaty with them that committed to preventing the Seljuk raiding on Byzantine's territory. In the meantime, Romanos needed a decisive victory not only to protect, Armenia, but also his throne. And therefore, in the summer of 1071, Romanos decided to gamble everything on a massive eastern campaign that would draw the Seljuk into an engagement with the Byzantine. Ramano's plan was really distracting the Sultan long enough until he takes his army, march right into Armenia, recover the lost fortresses before the Seljuk Sultan had any time to respond. Well, this Byzantine deceitful warfare was basically a skill that they were able to master over time, and that's how they used to prize and win war. I think by now you can tell that the result of all these pieces being moved by Romanos and the reconquering or taking fortresses from Armenia will probably result in a major conflict. So Romanos decided that he would march with 200,000 men, Greek, Franks, Russians, Georgians, Armenians, and many others. Um, Historians such as Matthew Vadessa and Edward Gibbon claim that this was the biggest army that were ever assembled by the Roman Empire. Ranges anywhere from 100,000 to a million. I think the number that were frequently recited was about 200,000 men. They came with much equipment, great display, and Ramanas in his mind, his whole thought was, I'm going to arrive at the land of the Muslims and completely annihilate the Seljuk and take over. But you see, Alp Arslan was no fool. He had intelligence. The news reached him that Romanos has been moving, and he was at this point in laying a siege in Azerbaijan. And the Sultan actually knew that he would not be able to raise a great army in number and equipment who were far, because his army was far away in scattered places in, fighting in Aleppo, fighting in other places. So he was able to only gather about 15,000 men, number them pretty quickly, and then they marched on. When they drew near the enemy, they encountered an advance guard of the Byzantine. The advance guard of the front piece of the army was about 10,000. After a brief engagement, the advance guard were badly defeated and actually fled the scene and went back. And it was said that the advance guard did not go back to Romanos, but they actually fleeing all the way back to Byzantine. Now, when Alp Arslan drew nearer, he sent a message to the emperor Romanos for a truce, but he was empathetically refused by Romanos. He was actually the ambassador was badly humiliated and thrown out of the room. You see, at this moment, really you can tell the real men with or the hero of the world and how they make decision. Arslan at this point had to make that decision. He decided there is no other choice, and I'll tell you why in a minute. He decided we are going to war. We're going to give it all we can. So therefore, the stage is set, the war is happening. The Sultan then was advised by his Imam and scholar of the army, Abu Nasr Muhammad ibn Abdul Malik, who told him, "You are fighting for a religious cause, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to support and to make you prevail over others." He said, "I trust that Allah will have put this victory down to your name. Confront them on Friday in the afternoon, right after the afternoon prayer, where people are raising their hands, making dua for you, and inshallah, you will be victorious." So listen to what happened next. Just as the hour came on Friday, on the 20th of Dhul Qa'dah, 463 Hijri, or 19th of August 1071, the Sultan Alp Arslan led his men in the prayer of Friday, following which he wept and wept. Much of his army also wept. He addressed him and said, "We are with depleted force. Either I will achieve the goal or I will go as a martyr to paradise. If I die, then know that my son, Malik Shah, is my heir and your leader. Whoever wishes to depart from the army, let him depart, be ashamed. But for there is no sultan to command and forbid today. For I am a ghazi or warrior with you, fighting side by side. There is no sultan, there is no one to take order from." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says two du'as are never rejected or rarely rejected. The du'a during the call prayer and the du'a during the calamity when two armies are going to attack each other. Sadaq Rasulullah. At this point, the Byzantines set up like a number five on a dais where Ramenos is in the center, while the army of the Muslims under the Sultan Arslan set up like a crescent formation, hiding their smaller number, but also hiding some of the forces around so they cannot be seen. While all these were going on, voices of the Quran was reciting, drums were beating up really hard from Sultan's troop. The bells were ringing from the Byzantine side, all filling the air. Sultan Alp Arslan then mounted on his horse and charged with no fear in his heart, courageous towards the enemy lines with cries of Allahu Akbar in unison with his army, such that the mountains were trembling around them. The charge was so ferocious that the dust which emerged from beneath them provided them with sort of cover as they smashed into the center of the Byzantine army. It was so interesting that they thought about a trick where the Byzantine army had long spears reaching out. So what the Sultan ordered his knights to do is ride on the horses backward and continue to disengage and drive backward and throw arrows, and this way they were not to be harmed, and they would stay away from as a distance from the emperor's troops while they're shooting arrows at them and killing them. The Muslims had managed to capture Emperor Remenos himself, and during few hours of fight, they were able to actually close in from the side. Part of the flanks of Remenos' army drew back. They were disarrayed. They didn't listen to what was going on. He didn't plan correctly. I have to tell you what happened exactly next. In everywhere you read this story, you would find it exactly the same way. And so, therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the conversation that went between Sultan Alp Arslan and Romanos. So, Romanos was brought in as a prisoner and he was thrown in front of Alp Arslan. And Alp Arslan asked him, "What would you do if I was brought to you as a prisoner?" Romanov says to him, "Perhaps I would kill you or exhibit you in the streets of Constantinople." Alp responds to him, "My punishment is far heavier. I forgive you and set you free." And there it was. So only a noble, true Muslim hero would do that. Arslan negotiated peace with Romanos before permitting him to leave or depart. This saw the transfer to Antakya, Edessa, Hierapolis, and obviously Manskert or Malaskert back to the Seljuks for the receive for the in return to receive 1.5 million of gold pieces. I think it was about 360,000 gold pieces annually as ransom. Ramanas remained captive with Sultan Alp Arslan for approximately a week or two, during which time he treated him very nicely and kindly and graciously. He also escorted him along for a long distance back to Constantinople and sent with him a number of men to save passage to make sure that he gets back home. What was also interesting is that the banner that he was holding above his head, Brahmanos that is, uh, was saying, "There is nothing worthy of worship but Allah." Ramanas then returns back home to find that he was dethroned. He ended up badly tortured. They blinded him, sent him to exile to die after a year. As for Alp Arslan, he goes back to fight in what is called Mawara an-Nahr, or Trans-Saxonia. Sultan Yusuf al-Khwarizmi, who ended up actually deceiving him and stabbing him while he was in Loken, and ended up actually dying from his wounds only 1 year after the great Malaskard victory. There are really some interesting points I'd like to take away from Malaskard. You know, how Alp Arslan treated his foe with mercy. You know, how Alp Arslan's decision to fight, while he had lower number of troops was really calculated very carefully. A, if he retreated, he would lose his troops' confidence and potentially lose the war overall. B, giving more space and time to Romanos may actually further Alp Arslan's weakness and then further give his opponent more confidence that he would win the war. C, he declared Shahada and considered himself martyr, which actually encourages troops to start to think the same way. And when you get to this state of mind, there's only two options at you. You win or you die. And either ways, you are going to win. And then D, he used all his military tactics, intelligence, and planned extremely, extremely well. Well, regarding the Crusaders, it actually should not be forgotten, and this battle was devastating to the Roman or the Byzantines or the Eastern Roman that was left of it, that it was set in motion a number of events. One of these events was that a decade later, exactly 1096, Pope Urban would make, the call to unite the Western and Eastern Christendom to, start to, and it was actually avenge the consequences of the defeat of Manskart or Malaskart to start the crusades. Lastly, the victory actually opened up the area of Anatolia and to the Muslims, which marked the beginning of the end of the Byzantine Empire and the domination of Seljuk around this area. By way of reminder, here are the 3 easy steps of highly successful Muslims. First, have to learn, you have to plan, and then you have to execute. And execution is the discipline of getting things done. You see, most ordinary people let the outside control them. If you want to succeed, you must let the inside control the outside. That said, our unique character today, Arslan, believed that the outside will not control his fate. You probably heard the term build it and they will come. I'm asking you to plan it, build it, design it in your head first, in your mind. Believe in it, close your eyes, live your dream and goals in your head. The more burning desire you have, the more real your dreams will come true and your goals will manifest in life. You see the potentials inside you, reach inwardly, and stop letting the outside people control you, circumstances discourage you, or tell you you cannot do it. Our character today, Arslan, knew this. He learned, collected the information, analyzed it, used it in his advantage, he planned really well. He decided he would go to war with a smaller number and provision 15,000 against 200,000 lower estimate, higher than that in other estimates. All the odds were against him, but he planned it, decided to go. He didn't have any doubt that he would win. I think if Arslan was among us today, you would ask him, did you have any doubt in your head that you would lose and Allah will let you down? I think his answer would be not even 1% in my mind. You see, this war, this battle, Malazkar in 1071, actually ended an empire that endured for 2,000 years and it changed the course of history forever. You too, by the way, can be the next Arslan. Different time and circumstances, of course, but you can be the next Arslan. You can be the next most successful people on the planet if you want to. Your limitation is in your head, and the higher you set the stage in your head on your limitation, the higher up it will go. So make your goals and dreams with no limit, no ceiling. Raise the goal, raise your ceiling, and you'll get there. Looking forward to tell you our next story. Meet together to talk about a forgotten Muslim hero, exemplified through the three habits of highly successful Muslims and how they changed the fate around themselves and changed history forever. Wassalamu alaikum.